know the full truth. Late one night, Harold got an anonymous email. No subject, no sender. Just a single line. Check the S13X file again. The password is your caddy's birthday. He hesitated for hours. But finally, curiosity won. He typed in the password. The file opened. Inside were hundreds of encrypted documents, payment routes, investor names, and digital identities linked to multiple countries. But one document, labeled Phase 4, Clean Exit, made his blood run cold. It detailed a plan to transfer all investor blame onto the public face of GSI. In other words, him. He was the fall guy all along. Harold slammed his laptop shut, his heart racing. He realized he wasn't just a victim. He was now the key witness in one of the biggest financial scams in sports history. Harold Weston had been many things in life. A champion, a mentor, a public figure. But now, he was something else entirely. A man on the run from his own shadow. By the time Part 2's events had unfolded, the FBI had already seized his accounts, sponsors had abandoned him, and his name was whispered in boardrooms like a curse. The $145 million scam wasn't just a loss of money, it was a loss of identity. But Harold wasn't done yet. He had the S13X file, the proof that the entire Global Swing Initiative was a setup, and the name that haunted every document, Victor Crane. Now he needed to find Crane, or what was left of him. A ghost in Geneva. The digital trail led to Switzerland. A small high-security data center near Lake Geneva had once hosted GSI's backup servers. Harold flew there under a fake name, Martin Hughes, using a passport arranged by one of his old caddies who still believed in him. When he arrived, he noticed something strange. The data center was owned by a holding company called Arcadia Group SA. He remembered that name. It was written in the Phase 4 Clean Exit document. He waited until midnight, then slipped inside the facility using a stolen ID badge. Rows of humming servers lined the dark room, their blue lights blinking like silent witnesses. He connected his hard drive, copied what he could, and that's when he saw it. A hidden folder named Crane Vault. Inside were high-resolution passport scans, bank statements, and, unbelievably, video surveillance from Victor Crane's private jet. The final video was timestamped just days before GSI's collapse. Crane wasn't alone. He was with a woman. Someone Harold knew very well. Her name was Samantha Ray, Harold's longtime business manager, and his most trusted friend. The face of betrayal. For over a decade, Samantha had been by Harold's side. She handled contracts, managed deals, and shielded him from scandals. She was more than an assistant. She was family, but the video told a different story. In it, Crane and Samantha sat across from each other, sipping champagne. Once he's out, Crane said, the blame shifts to him. We walk away clean, Samantha smiled. He'll never see it coming. Harold replayed that moment again and again, hoping it wasn't real. But her voice, her smile, there was no doubt. She had sold him out for money. He dropped the hard drive onto the table, shaking. Why, Sam? He muttered under his breath. Why you? The contact days later, Harold was hiding in a cheap motel outside Zurich, surviving on vending machine snacks in fear. He had nowhere to go. Interpol was searching for him. The media called him a mastermind con artist. And now, the one person he trusted had betrayed him. That's when a knock echoed on his door. He froze. Another knock, softer this time. Harold, it's me. We need to talk. It was Samantha. She looked nothing like her old self. No designer suit, no bodyguards, just dark glasses and a trembling hand clutching a folder. You think I did this to you? She whispered. But it's bigger than that. Crane isn't who you think he is. Harold didn't answer. He just stared at her, trying to control his breathing. They're watching both of us, she said. Crane's not gone. He's hiding behind something called Project Aurora. You were supposed to take the fall, yes, but not by me. I was threatened, Harold. They said they'd... A loud crack interrupted her. The window shattered. A bullet lodged into the wall behind Harold's head. He dove for cover. Samantha screamed. By the time he looked up, she was gone. Her chair overturned, blood staining the floor. The escape panic surged through Harold's veins. He grabbed the folder she dropped and bolted through the back door into the cold night air. Sirens wailed in the distance. Or maybe it was his imagination. He didn't stop running until he reached the train station. When he finally opened the folder, his hands were trembling. Inside were flight records, coded messages, and one photograph, an old black and white picture of Crane shaking hands with a government official in front of a U.S. embassy flag. The caption read, Joint Venture 2015 Project Aurora. Below it, a handwritten note, Follow the money. It ends where golf began. Harold stared at the line, confused, until it clicked. Scotland, St. Andrews, the birthplace of golf. That's where he needed to go next. The hunt for truth. 2 weeks later, Harold arrived in St. Andrews under yet another fake name. He stayed in an old inn by the coast, its wooden floors creaking with every step. The locals recognized him, but said nothing. They'd seen enough scandals to know when a man was running from ghosts. He spent his days tracking old business filings, company merges, and encrypted wire transfers. Everything led to a single name, Next Golf Holdings, a shell company. Registered to a Thomas R. Klein. He searched. The name in the archives. His jaw dropped. Thomas R. Klein was Victor Crane's real identity. The setup revealed the puzzle pieces finally began to fit. Crane, or Klein, had used Harold's fame to legitimize a massive laundering scheme tied to fake tech startups and offshore accounts. Every contract Harold had signed, every ad he'd filmed, was part of a smokescreen designed to make GSI look real. And Samantha? She wasn't just his manager. She was Crane's liaison, planted years earlier to gain Harold's trust. He realized that the $145 million deal wasn't a payment. It was a trap, a digital signature linking him directly to Klein's hidden empire. Harold leaned back in his chair, staring out at the misty sea. You wanted to ruin my legacy, he whispered. But now, I'm coming for yours. It had been 127 days since Harold Weston's name became synonymous with betrayal. Once adored by millions, now he was a ghost, hunted, hated, and hiding in the shadows of the empire he helped build. But on a gray, rain-soaked morning in St. Andrews, Scotland, Harold finally had everything he needed to fight back. The files, the video evidence, the offshore accounts, and the truth behind Project Aurora. He knew it was time. He had one last swing left in him. The return Harold boarded a midnight flight to Washington, D.C. under an assumed identity. In his backpack were 2 hard drives and a handwritten note from Samantha. Her final words before she was killed. If you're reading this, I'm gone. But Crane isn't just a con man. He's a contractor. Project Aurora funds more than golf. They're laundering black budget money through you. The note was signed with one line that shook him. Trust no one wearing a badge. Harold didn't sleep the entire flight. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw Samantha's blood on the floor, Crane's grin, and the number $145 million, echoing in his mind like a curse, the shadow within by dawn. Harold was standing outside an old government building on Pennsylvania Avenue. Inside, he met Agent Laura Voss, one of the few who still believed he was innocent. You've been gone for months, she whispered. They think you're dead. Good, Harold said, dropping the drives on her desk. Let's keep it that way. Voss scanned the files, her expression tightening with every click. There it was. Evidence that Project Aurora wasn't a sports venture at all. It was a front for moving covert defense funds through entertainment, sponsorships, and digital asset projects like GSI. The deeper she looked, the worse it got. Several of the accounts led directly to private military contractors, and one, labeled Client 07X, pointed to a top-ranking government official. You know what this means, she said quietly. If this goes public, it's not just Crane going down, it's half the department. Harold nodded. Then we do it the old-fashioned way. We tell the world. The broadcast using an underground journalist contact from Europe, Harold arranged a live interview on a rogue online news stream known as the Unseen Report. It was risky, one mistake, and he'd be arrested before the camera even rolled. The show went live at 8:00 p.m. Sharp millions tuned in. Harold's face appeared on screen, gaunt, tired, but burning with purpose. They said I stole $145 million, he began. What they didn't tell you is who I was really working for. He detailed every document, every hidden transfer, every manipulation that turned his name into a weapon. He named Victor Crane. He named Project Aurora. He even revealed the official tied to Client 07X. Within minutes, the stream went viral. The golf scam trended worldwide. But then, the feed cut to black. The blackout. A minute later, the studio lights flickered. Agents in tactical gear stormed in. Harold was grabbed, slammed to the ground, and handcuffed before he could speak another word. You should have stayed in hiding, a voice said behind him. You just made enemies you can't see. It was Victor Crane, alive, calm, and dressed in a federal security badge. In the quiet corridors of a Florida courtroom, one of golf's greatest icons prepared for the battle of his life. At 85 years old, Jack Nelson, the Golden Champion, wasn't fighting for trophies anymore. He was fighting for something far more valuable. His name. Camera pans across rows of reporters. Flashbulbs flicker. Narrator. Outside, the media waited, ready to spin headlines. Inside, Jack sat still, hands folded, eyes sharp, as the jury foreman stood up. After years of betrayal, manipulation, and corporate deceit, the truth was about to explode. Flashback, 2007, sunny golf course, luxury office boardroom. Upbeat music fades in. A younger Jack signs a stack of papers as executives shake hands. Narrator. It all began 18 years earlier. 2007, the year Jack sold his name, image, and design business to a company he believed would protect his legacy, Nelson Global Design. The deal was worth $145 million. The man behind it, billionaire investor Howard Milton, a smiling banker with sharp eyes and a sharper agenda. Milton, archival interview tone. We'll take Jack's brand worldwide. Apparel, golf courses, tournaments. This is a partnership for the ages. Narrator. To the world, it looked like a dream deal. But behind the cameras, fine print was being written in invisible ink. The perfect deal, or so it seemed. Scene, boardroom, contract zoom in, highlighted clauses, legal jargon. Narrator. The agreement gave Nelson Global full control over Jack's image, from his signature logo to his golf course designs. Jack trusted them. He thought it was business as usual. But buried deep inside the contract was a clause, one that would later turn his life into a nightmare. Music shifts darker. Narrator. Clause 17. All rights to future projects, design initiatives, and brand partnerships shall remain exclusive to Nelson Global. In other words, Jack couldn't design a single golf hole, sign a single deal, or even lend his name without permission. Scene. Jack at home, looking at old trophies, sighs heavily. I thought I was securing my legacy, Jack says quietly. But what I really did was sell my freedom. The relationship turns. Sour narrator. For the first few years, everything looked fine. Nelson Global launched products, opened design studios, and used Jack's name to attract billion-dollar investors. But as the years went on, Jack began to notice something. Strange projects, shady accounting, and decisions made without his approval. Visual, documents being shredded, secret meetings. Phone calls cut short. Narrator. By 2017, Jack stepped down as company executive. He'd had enough of boardroom politics. But even after retiring, his signature kept appearing on deals he'd never signed. Attorney voice. Sir, they're still using your name on projects in Asia and the Middle East, without consent. Narrator. Jack's first reaction wasn't anger, it was disbelief. The company he helped build was using his name to make millions, while cutting him out completely. The first warning sign. Narrator. Then came the meeting that changed everything. 2021, Jack receives an unexpected call. A proposal from an organization called Gulf Elite Golf Group. They offered him a stunning $750 million to become the face of a controversial new golf league. Scene, dimly lit meeting room, shadowed executives slide a contract across the table. Mr. Nelson, we want you as the face of our new tour. Your legacy, your name, your approval. Narrator. Jack refused instantly. He had spent his life defending traditional golf. He wouldn't sell out now, but somehow, the story still leaked. TV sound bites overlapping. Reports suggest golf legend Jack Nelson may be joining a Saudi-backed league. Sources claim the 85-year-old icon has agreed to a $750 million deal. Narrator. In a single week, decades of respect vanished. The headlines painted him as a sellout. The fans he'd inspired turned silent. But Jack knew exactly where the leak came from. His own company. Betrayal from within. Narrator. The very corporation that promised to protect him was now using him as a pawn. They'd weaponized his legacy to strengthen their own control. And to finish the job, they spread one more lie. That Jack was no longer mentally fit to run his business. Courtroom documents flash across screen. Dementia allegations. Competency hearings. Narrator. Behind closed doors, Nelson Global filed legal documents questioning his mental capacity. It was a brutal move, meant to silence him, remove his signature rights, and take permanent control of his empire. Jack's lawyer, interview tone, they said he couldn't even drive a car, that he didn't understand his own contracts. They were trying to erase him from his own history. Narrator. But they underestimated one thing: the fire that still burned in the Golden Champion. Camera zooms on Jack's eyes. Determined, furious. "You can take my company," he whispers, "but you'll never take my name." End scene, the beginning of the war. Narrator. And that was the moment everything changed. What began as a $145 million partnership turned into a full-blown war over truth, legacy, and betrayal. The fight for his identity had just begun. For years, the golfing world believed he was untouchable, a legend whose name stood for perfection, discipline, and legacy. But behind the smile, behind the trophies and multi-million-dollar endorsements, one deal was quietly eating away at everything he had built. That deal was worth $145 million, and it almost destroyed him. It all started in early 2021, when the global sports market was in chaos. Tournaments were being canceled, sponsors were pulling out, and investors were desperate to find something new, something big. That's when Harold "the Hawk" Weston, one of the most respected golfers of his generation, received a mysterious call. "We're building the future of golf," the voice said, "and we want you to lead it." The voice belonged to Victor Crane, a billionaire venture capitalist known for risky projects that somehow always paid off until they didn't. Crane was launching something called the Global Swing Initiative, GSI, a hybrid of virtual tournaments, NFT-based collectibles, and real-world sponsorships. The pitch? A golf revolution powered by digital ownership and streaming rights. For Harold, it sounded like the chance of a lifetime. Crane promised him $145 million in total, half in cash, half in equity, in exchange for using his name, image, and likeness to promote GSI as the next big thing. Even his legal team couldn't find much to object to. Contracts looked clean. Investors looked real. The numbers made sense on paper, but Harold had no idea that he was walking straight into a trap. The Whisper Network. Just weeks after signing, rumors began to swirl. A golf journalist from the UK, Ethan Price, published a short article titled "Too Much Swing, Not Enough Substance." He claimed that GSI's financial structure didn't add up, that millions of dollars were being funneled through shell companies in the Cayman Islands, and that celebrity partners were being used as bait for unwary investors. Harold's PR team brushed it off. "Ethan's just chasing clicks," they told him. But the article stuck in his mind, especially one line: "The golf legend may not even know what he's endorsing." That night, Harold couldn't sleep. He opened his laptop and started digging through the GSI investor documents himself. Most of it was technical jargon, blockchain contracts, token flow sheets, escrow notes. But there was one file labeled S13X that caught his eye. It required a password. He called Crane the next morning. "Hey Vic, what's this S13X file about?" "Nothing important," Crane laughed. "Just boring back-end stuff. Leave it to the tech guys." But Harold couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The first Crackbee midsummer, GSI was everywhere. TV ads, social media campaigns, even billboards in Times Square. Harold's face was the centerpiece. "The future of golf is here," the posters said. Money poured in. Investors signed up. Fans bought into digital golf NFTs worth thousands of dollars each. Then, one morning, the GSI app just vanished. Within hours, hundreds of angry fans started flooding Harold's social media. "Where's my NFT? Did you scam us? Why did you take our money?" Harold's team panicked. They reached out to GSI headquarters in Los Angeles, but the office was empty. The website was down. Emails bounced back. And Victor Crane? Gone, his phone disconnected. His jet missing from the hangar. It was as if he had never existed. The FBI knocked 3 days later. Federal agents arrived at Harold's home in Florida. They had questions and warrants. "Mr. Weston, we need to ask you about your financial relationship with Victor Crane." Harold froze. He wasn't under arrest, but they treated him like he was. Every device in his house was confiscated. Laptops, phones, even his wife's tablet. The agents showed him bank transfers, offshore accounts tied to his name, millions moved in his endorsement deal that he never authorized. "I didn't touch that money," Harold protested. But the agents didn't look convinced. One of them, a tall woman with dark hair, handed him a printed image, a security camera still. It showed someone wearing his golf jacket entering a data center in Dubai the same week GSI collapsed. The timestamp matched his supposed charity event in California. His alibi was airtight, or so he thought. "That's not me," Harold whispered, his hands trembling. "Then who is it?" The agent asked. The breaking point within days. Headlines exploded. Golf legend under investigation in $145 million scam. Sponsors dropped him instantly. His social media accounts were hacked and flooded with hate. Even old friends stopped returning his calls. His entire life, 30 years of spotless reputation, was collapsing in front of him. And the worst part, he still didn't